Ah, Halo. Sorry. I know using that theme is cliche and all, but I just had to. Now, as some of you may have guessed from the title, today we're going to talk about a game franchise that was a part of my childhood, my adolescence, and why it still plagues me as a series it could have been and still could be. Halo, but most importantly, Halo 3 and Reach respectively, are the most definitive games of video game history since Halo's inception. From teabagging to sprinting, to not sprinting, Halo may have not exactly created many of our iconic gaming mechanics, but they were definitely pioneers of it. Yeah, the Wii outsold the Xbox 360, but although its sales nearly eclipsed the 360, Nintendo at the time didn't really make games that would hook a large amount of gamers for a long duration of time. It was something that you would put away and come back to later if a new game came out that piqued your interest. But since Nintendo did not really have online games, and Microsoft already had cohesive online in the original Xbox, the Xbox 360 was the king of online, and controlled about the entire 6th generation of consoles. Even though the PlayStation 2 was the most sold console ever, moving from Gen 5 to 6, the 360 had better advertising, amazing internet compared to its competitors, and had the money and influence to have more third-party games than the PlayStation 3 and its hard-to-develop-for hardware. Moving on, basically, Microsoft controlled most of the gaming space, which helped them in promoting their natural-born child, Halo. And that paid off. Although Halo 1 and 2 started and came out on the original Xbox, the series continued and strived into a franchise that has grown humongous. Halo 3 has hashed out over 14 million sales, becoming the most sold game on the Xbox 360. Right behind Grand Theft Auto 5, which is behind Kinetic Adventures. Wait, didn't that one come with every sold Connect? I was 8 years old when I first started playing Halo. I know you might tell me I missed it on a time, and I'm sure I did, but I simply never played Halo 1 and 2. I came back to these games years later to play campaign, but I didn't even really know the series existed till I played in 2007. My uncle was a freshman in high school at the time and used to watch me from my mom, and for the most part, we played video games together. And him and his attempt to keep me involved would play one of the most popular games at the time, and plug me in a second controller to play Halo 3 with him and his online friends. We played Halo 3 together a decent amount of time. I wasn't the greatest at the game, but you know, I did stuff. Anyways, I didn't come back to Halo till about 2009, a year before Halo Reach. Believe it or not, Xbox Live was never a thing for me. I owned the 360 because Toys R Us sold out of Nintendo Wii's, so I got the 360 with no antenna going online into, you know, whatever they had then. So I picked up Crash of the Titans and Sonic 06, and eventually I picked up Halo 3 for myself. I forgot when, but I played the campaign and stopped playing it once I felt satisfied with it like any other game I owned back then. Halo Reach came out and I bought the game at release, same as my best friend. We played and we beat the hell out of that campaign. So then we hopped on Forge a little bit and made our own super dope map. After that, my friend suggested we played Halo Reach, but online. My friend and I hopped into my first online experience since playing with my uncle and his online friends. No punches pulled, we hopped into a game of Classic Slayer, then a game of Infection, and then a game of King of the Hill. After playing quite a few games, we made a small amount of online friends. We didn't really know how they tolerated our Kinect mic, but they did. And we decided to show our new friends our new map. Sadly, we didn't know how to make game modes or actual maps that were good, so we just let our friends play on our map as we proudly displayed it on the Forge game mode. And they destroyed our map because we were done with playing on Forge, and then my friend accidentally deleted the map anyways. Moving on from that, going home I was ecstatic. I had to convince my dad to get Xbox Live. And then we did, opening the floodgates. Halo 3 and Reach both had lively online play until about 2014 or so, where both games, mostly 3, began its painful demise to an overall low player count. I poured an insane amount of time to online play Halo 3 and Reach. While it was always fun to jump into a game with Slayer or Infection, which is, you know, really fun, my favorite moments of Halo are just joining friends and people that recruited random people into their games and playing custom games. People got mad creative with Forge mode, From Indiana Jones to more infection but changed up a bit, to Michael Myers, Halo felt like you could do anything with the Forge mode. It was always fun to play the base game modes, but the freedom Bungie gave you in making maps in Halo, especially with Reach, were enormous. I know Counter-Strike and Team Fortress 2 and almost any other Valve or PC game did this, and even had a way better and bigger way to make maps and game modes. Halo is a lot more easy. Forge is almost like Lego once you figure out how to make things fit in certain places. People made random jumbles of whatever in their maps. Some people made maps and became official competitive maps, and some people made things that were just really creative. You see, Halo Forge allowed to set spawn times for certain objects, adding complexity. Like I said, doing this on PC was generally a lot harder, but yielded more results. As it was, only a select few would really mess with creating things on PC games. Not only that, but Halo was on a far more popular platform, being the figurehead of the dominant platform with that generation and everything. But while being harder on most PC games, I feel as if Halo helped create more willing people to make maps once they shifted to the PC side of gaming, or even just developing video games for a living. Halo formed community not just from the ability to make maps, but something that has become universal in first-person games, and well, almost any game you can crouch. Teabagging. Halo was the absolute leader of teabagging video games, an absolute pioneer. Teabagging could be friendly, mocking, aggravating, and a social gathering of sorts. You may ask how it helped form community, but everyone does it. New, old, bad, or good, everyone teabagged in Halo for some reason. That has carried on into tons of games. Basically any game that has crouching. Think of teabagging as an augmentation of a gaming feature. Overwatch, Fortnite, Dead by Daylight, Battlefield, and almost every competitive online game featured some way of teabagging. Intended or not, it was happening. The only other super big game around Halo Reach was Call of Duty, but Call of Duty had kill cams when you died instead of seeing someone teabagging your carcass, so teabagging wasn't really as prevalent in Call of Duty. Now sprint versus no sprint is a debate in how a lot of first person shooters should operate. Halo 1 through 3 had no sprinting. Halo Reach and onward does. It created a rift of sorts, the inclusion of sprint and all, but Bungie noticed it was kind of a thing in other popular games and decided to put it in Reach. Comparing to future Halo games though, it wasn't as bad or hated on in Reach. You see, Halo Reach revolved around armor abilities, jetpack, sprinting, holograms, and armor lock. These are examples of abilities introduced in the Halo Reach single and multiplayer. And while Halo Reach introduced sprinting Spartans, it was only an armor ability, not another base of the character's abilities. In Halo 3, you still had abilities to change you, but only on a few maps, and it was something you had to find and was temporary. Sprinting changes the whole design philosophy of balance and design of map space, needing bigger, longer maps to compensate. While Halo Reach had sprinting, maps were not entirely balanced around sprinting exclusively, making matches and maps seem cluttered, but they were still fun. Now, just because sprinting wasn't a thing in older Halo games doesn't mean you're controlling a bunch of super slugs. Just like other games that don't have sprinting like Overwatch or Half-Life, you had skill-based ways to gain other movement methods. Physic jumping, rocket jumping, and grenade jumping. Halo Reach and newer Halo games still have this, but skillful-based momentum isn't as prevalent. Now, while there are amazing games that don't have sprinting, and that influence is still a thing nowadays, this is where I feel like Halo 3 takes a backseat to influencing the general gaming scene, and Halo Reach steps forward. Sprinting is an ability in a large amount of games. Fortnite, Battlefield, etc. Hell, even Soldier 76 from Overwatch has a sprint to help players coming from mainline shooters to adjust. While Halo 3 also had tons of the same game modes as Reach, Halo Reach handled the Halo feel well enough, while also seemingly catering to a more mainstream audience. Free-for-all, for example, in Halo, reminds me of all these recent games like PUBG or Fortnite, where you drop something random and fight whoever you bump into. It encouraged you to play the game more to figure out maps and where certain things spawn, but it also made players get better at using what everyone starts with, the default weapon. Other games do this to different degrees, but still under the same philosophy. Fortnite and Overwatch do this, but unlike Halo who has everyone spawn with the same weapons, those games have set classes. Fortnite and other Battle Royale games, however, by making players spawn in the map with either no weapon or one weapon, as you scramble to find better weapons and items, everyone still starts off on the same foot, only this time the outcome can be a lot more random. What Halo Reach does better than any other future Halo is that just like Team Fortress and Overwatch, Halo Reach had pre-selected classes. You didn't necessarily know what your enemy team would have, but you could grow to suspect what they may have from your prior experience. You see, when Halo 4 came out, now under 343's banner, Halo subverted its own traits to the mainstream, adding sprinkling to everyone and giving out customizable classes, muddying the Halo gameplay. While a large selection of different loadouts seem better, it promotes less creative play since you can spawn with objectively better weapons than your opponents, rather than knowing the map or stumbling upon power weapons, which gave players more of a fair chance. In Call of Duty, customizable loadouts are what the game is balanced around, which is why a game that had everyone spawn and use the same weapon would be insanely boring in Call of Duty, especially compared to, say, a pistol 1v1 in Halo or a scout battle in Team Fortress 2. Halo Reach is played to this day, a testament to being nearly the best of both worlds regarding more old school games like Quake or Team Fortress, but also towards the newer style of first person games like Call of Duty or Battlefield. Halo 4 is largely forgotten due to a change in direction, more towards story than gameplay, using what was then normally the average video game and making a generally forgettable game in the Halo mythos. Honestly, that's where Halo took its biggest nosedive, losing a good amount of player base. Halo 4 had a weird development philosophy going in. It was an essentially new company working on an established franchise, so they took the safe, dull route. When they saw what the feedback was, they tried to change Halo up, making it balance around competitive play, as opposed to balancing around fun. Halo 5 lost even more fans, though not as much as 4. It introduced so much new that it completely overshadows Halo 4 almost completely. While Halo 4 was easily forgotten and muddy in mechanics, Halo 5 granted the most change mechanically and even thematically to the Halo series. Halo 5 added in a new player base to the series, but produced a game that was more focused on story than the original trilogy. They kinda convoluted the general plot a bit, adding in a lot more lore from their recently written books, but besides the sloppy presentation and the story, 343 still did what they could. They nearly perfected the Forge mode, brought back proper infection, brought back Blue Team from the original Halo novels. If you're a Halo fan and haven't read those books, please read. But most importantly, the sense of community. 343 honestly tried. And it shows. It definitely shows. But they didn't go back to what made Halo, Halo. 343 tried something new. It was different. I don't dislike it, but it's not a system I'm too attracted to. But hey, here's to hoping that Halo 6 goes back to its roots and comes out on PC and doesn't afraid of anything.